Hi there, how's it going? Salam alaikum. Good afternoon. This is the Siwa Oasis of Western Egypt in the Sahara Desert. I have a bicycle right up here, out exploring, and going to walk into this very historic temple. I was here previously a few days ago, but I think that there is more to explore that I didn't see, and I thought that it would be a good place to discuss the topic in this video. I will get to that in just a minute. Oracle Temple, known as Amun Revelation Temple. This archaeological ruin dates back to the pharaonic era, 26th dynasty, 663 to 535 BC. The visit by Alexander the Great in 331 BC gave it historical significance. So apparently he was ordained as the Pharaoh of Egypt when he came here in the 4th century BC. So Alexander the Great is considered to be one of the greatest military commanders in world history, undefeated in battle, conquered much of the ancient world. But of course, conquering the world means a lot of death and destruction. So yes, he was great in terms of his accomplishments, but he also wreaked a lot of havoc on a lot of people, and he's a good example of authority, government, and its excesses. So the topic of this video is government a prison for humanity? Do we need to get rid of government altogether to regain our freedom? So this topic came to mind because somebody posted a comment under one of my recent videos in which they mentioned Mark Passio. I forget what the comment was, but more than a decade ago, when I was working up in Jasper National Park, hiking around the woods there and recording various videos, then I made a video response to Mark Passio. I think that it was on the subject of the New Age movement and whether it was like a government psyop, something like that, which is what he was saying. And no, I don't think that the New Age movement in general is a government psyop. But because this person brought up Mark Passio, I decided to check his channel, see if he was still active, and sure enough, he is. He's been posting lots of stuff. And one of his videos was titled, "Government is a Prison." And so I thought that I would discuss this topic because it is definitely a very, very important one and extremely relevant these days with so much opposition to government and authority in general. There is a big wave of anti-government sentiment, and in my opinion, then this is to a great extent misguided. I totally understand and can sympathize with opposition to authority, frustration with government corruption, unreasonable laws, politicians and police trampling on people's human rights. All of this absolutely happens. Governments around the world are, I would say, all corrupt to some extent, with a massive amount of variety. It really depends on the people in power, as well as, of course, the system as it is set up. But I would say that government corruption is, for the most part, a matter of the specific individuals engaging in corruption, as opposed to government in general as a concept, as a construct, being inherently corrupt. And so that is the distinction that I want to make and explore further in this video, because I think that the anti-authority phenomenon, movement, if you will, has been, to a great extent, taken advantage of, manipulated, in fact, for government control in some contexts. That there very well be, and I don't have, direct specific evidence on this, but I think it is quite possible, anyways, that there are psyops in effect that are taking advantage of anti-government sentiment and using it to, in fact, shore up power of certain authorities. Certainly there is lots of misinformation going on across the internet, psyops of various kinds for various purposes. But whether or not that is actually happening isn't really necessary for the argument, the distinction that I want to make. So, okay, I was thinking that I could maybe get into this other area of the ruins. Let's take a look. Maybe not. Oh, right there. I don't want to break any rules, climb over any walls, but does this kind of go through? Maybe not. Okay, maybe that is all you can actually access here. In which case, let's go for a wander. Okay, great, we can actually access some more. Or maybe not. I thought this was going to go to there. I could get over there, but clearly not intended. So what is this? Looks like probably a fountain. Water would flow in there, or maybe a sacrificial site. This looks like a grave. Hello, no thank you. No thank you. Okay, so my bicycle is back there, but let's wander down this way. We have kids selling these, I don't know what they are. Hello. In my ideal world, salam, hello, how are you? Oh, no thank you. In my ideal world, then, Bumbuni? I don't know. Then the system of government would be something like a tribalist system. Native American, in which maybe you have a chief, but a very loose form of government. Or the rainbow gatherings. I've been to 14 rainbow gatherings. I went to one this last summer where there is no leader. It is just a matter of whoever steps forward and chooses to take responsibility and take action and make things happen, then gains a certain level of maybe respect or authority of sorts, but there is no designated leader, leaders, group of leaders, or anything like that. So, in some sense, then I do prefer a almost anarchic form of government. But there's a big problem with trying to apply that to today, which is, I think that system of government only works with a very small population of people existing as tribal people, living, in harmony with nature, with vast land resources, not many other people around. And so to try to apply that system to the modern world of millions of people, cities of, whoa, I hadn't seen that donkey. Salam alaikum. Cities of 50 million people, Tokyo, and imagining that somehow it's going to work to strip away government and say, okay, it's a free-for-all now, we're all just going to do whatever we feel like, whatever we have the skills for, or whatever. I think that is horribly misguided and very delusional, basically, to imagine that in the 21st century, 8 billion people on the planet, then we could shift to some sort of unstructured, anarchic type of government, and for that to work. I just think that is not going to work whatsoever. Basically, all human societies have had some sort of a hierarchy in terms of having a chief. Maybe not all, maybe there are some that don't, but pretty much all, and especially in the modern era, have some sort of hierarchy, a leader, a group of, the Senate, the Congress, the Parliament. And to think that stripping this away is going to be better for people, you're going to gain this freedom, I think is just really, really wrong. I don't think that government as a general concept is a prison, is bad for humanity. It's more just about how is it set up and how are the individuals within that government behaving? What is their intention? What is their motivation? How are they actually approaching their position of authority? Are they using it to help the people, meet the needs of the people, or are they engaging in corruption, using their power, as we've seen, countless times, but just recently with U.S. senators, various members of Congress being charged with crimes involving Egypt, actually, I think, where I am now. The Egyptian government trading access for gifts and all this kind of stuff, just classic government corruption, which those individuals should be held responsible for, absolutely. All of this needs to be rooted out. But that is not proof that the entire system is corrupt. Yes, it is imperfect, less than ideal, absolutely. There is police mistreatment of citizens, and backroom deals going on that are in the interests of the powerful, the rich, and the famous, and whatnot. But there's the old expression, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I think that really, really applies here, in that if you were to strip away government entirely, there would just be absolute chaos. Who knows what would emerge out of that? It seems unlikely that even if you somehow manage to do that, that would remain, and that there would be no authority anymore. So it's really just a totally unrealistic, impractical, and I think detrimental, ultimately, concept to be striving for, wishing for, and it's just not going to happen. So, in my opinion, then, we need to work on making government better. Accept that government exists and it is really quite essential to meet our needs as societies, and yet acknowledge, recognize, seek out the corruption, the imperfections, and try to make it better. Because government is just an expression of the society, the country. It is just individuals. If it is set up properly, using, systems that by themselves tend to block corruption, misuse of power, because that is certainly part of it, is setting it up in a way that it will tend to serve the people's needs, and there will be less possibilities to take advantage of it as a person in a position of authority. But then also, of course, it's just about who gets in there. And people are who people are. Humanity currently is what it is. And to some extent, it doesn't even matter what the system is if you have corrupt people, selfish people, greedy people. They're going to be corrupt, selfish, greedy, regardless of whatever position they're in. And so it's just about humanity evolving, ultimately, to be more cooperative and less greedy, and have greater integrity in their lives, and especially in their position of authority. And so what I'm seeing in the past decade, couple decades, especially with the internet, is this whole strain of people who have an alternative mindset, who I likely share values with in terms of like alternative living, environmentalism, alternative healing and spirituality, indigenous knowledge being valued and utilized. And yet they've wrapped into that an anti-authority sentiment and perspective that I think is basically the pendulum swinging the other way too far, in which they have adopted a contrarian view in which, as I see it, all authority or most authority is wrong. The whole conspiracy movement of basically whatever the government says, the opposite is probably true, which I don't believe at all. And so I think that there is a overcorrection happening in which people's legitimate concerns about misuse of authority has gone too far and resulted in very distorted thinking about how to deal with corruption and authority, etc., and is ultimately throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So I think we need to fix, improve the systems, not reject them outright, not try to get rid of them, but acknowledge that, especially in the 21st century of modern technology and massive populations, stuff needs to be organized in very efficient, specific ways that require real expertise of people. You know, city planning and building buildings and roads and all this requires extreme precision. Managing airlines, flights around the world, all this stuff that you don't just have a free-for-all society in which this kind of stuff is going to actually work. Maybe, you know, humanity needs to go through this massive purge, a real changing, altering of the current system in which it just all collapses, comes crashing down, and then we come up with something else that is ultimately a lot better for humans. I am open to that, but keep in mind that that would be an absolutely devastating, disastrous transition period, very likely involving massive population decrease, wars and fighting and all kinds of stuff. And then maybe something better comes out on the other side, but who knows, maybe not. So is that really something we want to take a chance with? Play with that fire, try to bring down the system, and then is it really going to be better for people? Or are things pretty good for the world right now? Work on improving that, rather than trying to scrap the whole thing and replace it with something else that we have no idea how well that something else might work. Okay, back at the temple. Let's call that done. Time for me to go to the Cleopatra Spring, a natural swimming hole, and take a swim, cool off. All right, I am leaving Egypt in a few days, so we'll see where I end up next. See ya. Namaste.